In today's cutthroat business environment, it is essential to innovate in order to remain competitive. One such innovation is adopting cloud services in order to realize efficient service and performance. ITWeb identified prominent players and analysts to share their knowledge and expertise in this emerging area for the 2012 Virtualization and Cloud Computing Summit, held at the Forum from 17 to 19 July. This year's summit focused on identifying the latest trends and obstacles in the virtual environment, as well as providing expert advice on how to overcome these challenges. In a world where businesses are adopting cloud computing services, it is essential for IT professionals to differentiate their skills and evolve as the demands made on them change.
Melody Fourie, Group IT Executive for Tyre Auto, branded Tiger Wheel and Tyre in Yokohama, South Africa. My presentation today is Tiger's journey to the cloud via virtualization and a couple of notes regarding our journey.
I'm Fabio Tadei. I'm the Portfolio Manager for Managed Infrastructure Services and Cloud for Fujitsu South Africa. Today we're going to be presenting at the ITWeb Virtualization and Cloud Summit around modern data centers and how to utilize a virtualized platform as your path to cloud.
Virtualization and cloud computing is not something you consider due to the buzz in the marketplace. It's something that you need to plan for very strategically.
The real message is that we've come a long way on the virtualization front, and it's certainly the building blocks and the platform to launch cloud services. However, it is not a path that doesn't have obstacles, and you really need to look at many facets, including the traditional IT, which in virtualization and cloud tends to fall to the wayside. So that is really the message, that you really have to pay attention to many different details.
Thomas Black, I work at Business Connection. I'm a Deputy CTO. My presentation today just covers some of the lessons we've learned around cloud computing. While cloud is certainly a phenomenon, it's not necessarily applicable everywhere. So we've learned quite a bit in terms of where it's applicable, where it isn't applicable, and we want to relay some of those lessons today.
Morning, I'm Bernard Donnelly. I'm Head of Cloud Architecture for Telcom CyberNest Division. The real thrust of my presentation is to talk about the fact that where we are now in South Africa, which is very much looking at infrastructure as a service and reducing cost, is a really tactical approach to cloud. And where cloud is truly transformative is when you look at it in the greater scheme of things as a way of helping business to respond. Because as we've come out of the 2008 global meltdown, we've seen organizations are now saying, well, how do we readdress the market? How do we go after new markets? How do we revitalize our clients? And it's the cloud that enables us to do that, and particularly when you start getting into re-engineering the business and the business process, and you start looking at the offerings on software as a service, and very much the glue that ties that all together, business process as a service, that allows you to start responding in IT much more quickly than we have traditionally.
Tammy Bort, Director, Worksman's Attorneys. I think that what virtualization has done is it's enabled a lot of organizations to be able to use IT services, especially SMMEs that would previously have been out of their reach due to cost, due to the implementation of infrastructure, licensing fees, capex, etc. And so it's been of great use and benefit to SMMEs and smaller organizations, as well as to the man on the street who, as a result of cloud services, you have Facebook, you have Google, you have Dropbox, a proliferation of services that you can use and applications that are offered via the cloud. And I also think where you're seeing a big growth in cloud services is within Africa, where as a result of limitations of infrastructure, funding, financing, you are seeing that both organizations and especially governments throughout Africa are able to access services and applications in the cloud that they wouldn't have been able to access should there not have been this move towards virtualization.
Hi, I'm Piet van Vuren. My role today is to chair the ITWeb Virtualization and Cloud Conference. There is a very big hype about security on the cloud. But we tend to forget that when email came out, everybody was too scared to use it because of the security. And we somehow tended to just build these security layers as and when we required them. So yes, there is a security issue on the net, but there's nothing out there that can't be handled. The cloud is fairly substantial, the cloud is fairly secure. As and when any need arises to improve the security on that, I'm very sure it will be done.
I think the obstacles are really governance and the ownership thereof. Cloud is really provided by a service provider. Who takes ownership of governance? Is it still within your own realm, or is the service provider now responsible for the likes of security, etc.?
The bigger one, which is from a South African point of view, is really the data sovereignty issue. There's a lot of resistance, a lot of concern about where does the data reside in the cloud. With a lot of the cloud services being provided overseas, then data starts to move overseas, and you're now subject to the laws of Europe or the States. And I think that's the biggest concern. So we're going to see a wave of services that are starting to be hosted within South Africa, so the data stays locally. And so that's in the next 1 to 2 years. I think we'll start seeing more, a richer set of services offered locally, so the data sovereignty issue becomes much less of an issue.
The major challenge for cloud enterprise is still knowing the appropriateness of cloud. Not everything is designed for cloud. At the moment, most enterprises probably require a hybrid combination, so a combination of a dedicated environment as well as a cloud environment. And the biggest learning curve for enterprise is knowing when it's appropriate, when it isn't. And if you are going to embrace cloud, you need to actually design for it, you need to architect for cloud.